My daughter was rushed into surgery. When I arrived at the hospital, the surgeon quietly pulled me aside and said, "Take your grandchildren and leave the city immediately." Then he handed me an envelope. "Your son-in-law did something terrible." Subscribe to the channel for more stories like this and comment the city you're watching from. My name is Jason, and I'm 66 years old. I never imagined that answering my phone at 2 in the morning would be the moment everything changed. The ringing cut through the silence of my bedroom like a knife, and my hand fumbled for the device on the nightstand. My heart was already pounding before I even saw the number. "Mr. Whitmore, this is Regional Medical Center. Your daughter Aubrey has been admitted for emergency surgery." The words didn't make sense at first. I sat up, my mind struggling to process what the nurse was saying. Aubrey? Surgery? My daughter had called me just yesterday afternoon. She sounded tired, maybe a little off, but nothing that suggested this. "What happened? Is she okay?" My voice came out hoarse, panicked. "She's in surgery right now. The doctor will explain everything when you arrive. I'm sorry, but I can't give more details over the phone." I was dressed and in my car within 5 minutes. My hands shook as I gripped the steering wheel, the empty highway stretching ahead of me. It was a 90-minute drive to the hospital, and every minute felt like an eternity. My mind kept circling back to Aubrey as a little girl, 7 years old, scraped knee, crying in my arms. I'd always been able to fix things for her back then. A bandage, a hug, a terrible joke to make her laugh. But I couldn't fix this. I didn't even know what this was. The highway was dark and empty. No other cars, just me and the fear growing in my chest. I tried calling Michael, my son-in-law, but it went straight to voicemail. That wasn't unusual. Michael worked long hours and he kept his phone on silent at night. Still, something about it bothered me. Shouldn't he be at the hospital? Shouldn't someone have called him first? I pulled into the hospital parking lot at 3:45 in the morning. The emergency entrance was lit up like a beacon, and I practically ran through the automatic doors. The smell hit me first, that sterile antiseptic smell that hospitals have. It made my stomach turn. "Aubrey Whitmore," I said to the woman at the registration desk, my voice urgent. "My daughter, she's in surgery." The woman typed slowly, and I wanted to reach over and do it myself. Finally, she looked up. "Third floor, surgical waiting area. Take the elevators to your left." I didn't wait for her to finish. I was already moving. The waiting area was quiet, just a few other people scattered in chairs, staring at their phones or the television mounted on the wall. And there, in the corner, was Michael. He sat with his elbows on his knees, head down, the picture of a worried husband. But something felt wrong. "Michael?" I walked over to him, and he looked up. His eyes were red, but there were no tears. He stood, and we shook hands, which felt oddly formal given the circumstances. "Jason, they told you? What the hell happened?" I kept my voice low, but the anger was already building. "Why didn't you call me? It all happened so fast." Michael ran a hand through his hair. He looked exhausted, but there was something in his expression I couldn't place. Detachment, maybe, like he was going through the motions. She collapsed at home around midnight. I called 911 immediately. They said something about internal bleeding. "Well, internal bleeding? From what?" He shrugged, and that gesture made my blood run cold. "They don't know yet. They're running tests." I wanted to grab him by the collar and demand answers, but a doctor emerged from the double doors at that moment. He was older, maybe my age, with gray hair and tired eyes behind wire-rimmed glasses. He scanned the waiting room, and his gaze landed on us. "Family of Aubrey Whitmore?" "That's us," Michael said, stepping forward. I moved beside him, my heart hammering. The doctor glanced at Michael, then at me. "I'm Dr. Patterson. Aubrey's stable for now, but she's still in surgery. We're doing everything we can." "What happened to her?" I asked, my voice cracking. Dr. Patterson hesitated. "We're still determining the cause. There was significant internal bleeding, but we've managed to control it. She'll be in recovery for several hours." Michael nodded, his face carefully neutral. "Can we see her?" "Not yet. I'll update you as soon as she's out of surgery." Dr. Patterson's eyes lingered on Michael for a moment longer than felt normal. Then he looked at me. "Mr. Whitmore, could I speak with you privately for a moment?" I blinked. "Me? Why?" "Just a few questions about Aubrey's medical history." His tone was even, professional, but something in his eyes told me this wasn't routine. Michael shifted beside me. "I can answer any questions about Aubrey. I'm her husband." Dr. Patterson didn't look at him. "I need to speak with her, Father. It'll only take a moment." There was a tension in the air now, thick and uncomfortable. Michael's jaw tightened, but he nodded. "Fine. I'll be right here." I followed Dr. Patterson down a long hallway, away from the waiting area. He didn't speak until we reached a small consultation room. He closed the door behind us, and the click of the lock made my pulse spike. "Dr. Patterson, what's going on?" He turned to face me, and the expression on his face made my stomach drop. This wasn't a doctor about to deliver bad news. This was a man about to tell me something dangerous. "Mr. Whitmore, I need you to listen to me very carefully." His voice was low, urgent. "Your daughter is going to survive this surgery, but you need to take your grandchildren and leave the city. Tonight. Right now." I stared at him, my mind refusing to process the words. "What? What are you talking about?" Dr. Patterson reached into his coat pocket and pulled out a manila envelope. It was thick, stuffed with papers. He held it out to me with both hands, like it was something precious and terrible all at once. "Your son-in-law did something terrible, he said quietly. "This envelope contains evidence, medical records, prescriptions, communications. I shouldn't be giving this to you, and I could lose my license for it, but I can't let this continue." My hands trembled as I took the envelope. It was heavier than it should have been. "What are you saying?" "Open it when you're alone. Read everything. Then get your grandchildren and disappear." Dr. Patterson's eyes bore into mine. "Michael can't know that you have this. Do you understand me? If he finds out, I don't know what he'll do." My throat was dry. "Is Aubrey in danger?" "She was. That's why she's here." He glanced at the door, then back at me. "I have to get back to surgery. Please, Mr. Whitmore, protect those kids." He left before I could ask anything else. I stood there in that small room, the envelope clutched in my hands, my entire world tilting on its axis. I walked back to the waiting area in a daze. Michael was exactly where I'd left him, staring at his phone. He looked up when I approached, his eyes flickering to the envelope. "What's that?" "Just some paperwork," I said, my voice steadier than I felt. "Insurance stuff?" He nodded slowly, but his gaze lingered on the envelope. I sat down 3 chairs away from him, the envelope resting on my lap. I couldn't open it here, not in front of him, but I needed to know what was inside. The minutes dragged by. Michael checked his phone constantly. I watched him from the corner of my eye, trying to see what Dr. Patterson had seen. What had I missed? Finally, I couldn't take it anymore. "I need to use the restroom." Michael barely acknowledged me. I walked down the hallway, found the men's room, and locked myself in a stall. My hands shook as I opened the envelope. The first page was a medical record, Aubrey's name at the top. I scanned the document, my eyes catching on words that didn't make sense. Altered dosages, prescription forgeries, drug interactions. I flipped to the next page. More prescriptions, all in Michael's name, but filled at different pharmacies across 3 counties. Medications that shouldn't be taken together. Medications that could cause internal bleeding if combined. My vision blurred. I had to grip the stall wall to keep from collapsing. Michael had been poisoning my daughter. I sat on the closed toilet lid, the document spread across my lap, my hands shaking so badly I could barely read. But I forced myself to look at every page, every prescription, every date, every signature that wasn't Aubrey's but was supposed to be. Michael had been doing this for months, maybe longer. There were prescriptions for blood thinners, anti-anxiety medications, sleeping pills, all written under different doctors' names, filled at pharmacies scattered across the region. Some were in Aubrey's name, forged. Others were in Michael's name, but clearly intended for her. The combinations were deadly. I didn't need to be a doctor to understand that. One document was a printout of an email exchange between Dr. Patterson and a pharmacist. The pharmacist had flagged a prescription as suspicious because it was the third time that month someone had tried to fill a high-dose blood thinner for Aubrey Whitmore. Dr. Patterson had started investigating quietly. He'd pulled her medical records from the hospital system and found a pattern. Aubrey had been to the emergency room 4 times in the past 8 months. Unexplained dizziness, severe nausea, a fall down the stairs that she couldn't remember clearly. Each time Michael had been the one to bring her in. Each time he'd stayed close, answering questions for her when she was too disoriented to speak. I'd thought he was being a good husband, protective, caring. He'd been covering his tracks. There was a handwritten note from Dr. Patterson at the bottom of the stack. His handwriting was rushed, barely legible. "Mr. Whitmore, I discovered this by accident while reviewing your daughter's surgical prep. Her blood work showed dangerous levels of anticoagulants that she wasn't prescribed by any doctor in our system. When I cross-referenced with regional pharmacies, I found the pattern. Michael has a $2 million life insurance policy on Aubrey. It was taken out 6 months ago. I've contacted an attorney friend, but I need you to protect those children. He will come for them if he thinks you know. Be careful. $2 million. I folded the papers back into the envelope, my hands numb. My mind was screaming, but my body felt frozen. Michael had been slowly killing my daughter for money. For $2 million. How long had he been planning this? How long had Aubrey been suffering, thinking she was just sick, just clumsy, just unlucky? I thought back to the last few years. Aubrey had pulled away from the family. She'd stopped coming to Sunday dinners, stopped calling as often. When I did see her, she looked tired, worn down. Michael was always there, his hand on her shoulder, speaking for her, guiding her. I'd thought he was supporting her. I'd been grateful she had someone like him. I'd been a fool. I stood up, legs unsteady, and shoved the envelope inside my jacket. I couldn't let Michael see it. I couldn't let him know that I knew. Dr. Patterson's words echoed in my mind. Get the grandchildren and disappear. But how? Michael was sitting right there in the waiting room. If I tried to leave now, he'd know something was wrong. And where were the kids? Were they at home alone? Were they safe? I splashed cold water on my face and stared at my reflection in the mirror. I looked old, scared, but I couldn't fall apart. Not now. Aubrey needed me. My grandchildren Emma and Lucas needed me. I walked back to the waiting area, forcing my expression into something neutral. Michael looked up from his phone. "Everything okay?" he asked. "Yeah, just needed a minute." I sat down, the envelope burning against my ribs. "Where are the kids?" "At home. My sister's watching them." "Your sister?" I didn't know Michael had a sister. In the 7 years he'd been married to Aubrey, I'd never met her. "Yeah, she came over after the ambulance left." Michael's voice was smooth, casual. "I didn't want to wake them. They don't need to see their mom like this." Something about the way he said it made my skin crawl. I forced myself to nod. "That's good, that's smart." He went back to his phone. I sat there, staring at the wall, my mind racing. I needed to get to Emma and Lucas. I needed to get them away from Michael's sister, whoever she was. But I couldn't just leave the hospital. If I did, Michael would know something was wrong. An hour passed. Then another. Dr. Patterson came out once to tell us Aubrey was still in surgery, stable but not out of danger. He didn't look at me, didn't acknowledge the envelope. He was protecting himself, and I didn't blame him. Michael barely reacted to the update. He just nodded and went back to his phone. At 6 in the morning, a nurse finally told us Aubrey was out of surgery and in recovery. She was unconscious, but stable. We could see her in an hour. "I need coffee," Michael said, standing and stretching. "You want anything?" "No, I'm good." He walked toward the cafeteria, and the moment he was out of sight, I pulled out my phone. My hands were shaking again. I dialed my sister Clara's number. She lived 2 hours away, across the state line in Tennessee. "Jason? It's 6 in the morning. What's wrong?" "Clara, I need your help. I can't explain everything right now, but I need you to trust me." My voice was low, urgent. "Can you come to Regional Medical Center right now?" "What happened? Is it Aubrey?" "Please, Clara, I need you here, and I need you to bring your car." There was a pause. Then, "I'll be there in 2 hours. Thank you." I hung up before she could ask more questions. Michael came back 15 minutes later with a cup of coffee. He sat down, sipping it slowly, his eyes distant. I watched him, really watched him. The man I'd thought was a good husband, a good father, the man who'd been poisoning my daughter. "Jason," he said suddenly, and I tensed. "I know this is hard, but Aubrey's strong. She'll pull through." I wanted to lunge at him, to scream, to tear him apart with my bare hands. Instead, I nodded. "Yeah, she will." At 7:30, a nurse told us we could see Aubrey. She was in a private room, hooked up to machines, her face pale and drawn. She looked so small in that hospital bed, so fragile. Michael stood beside her, holding her hand. I stood on the other side, staring at my daughter, my heart breaking. She was alive, but for how long? If I didn't get her away from him, would he try again? "I'll stay with her," Michael said. "You should go home, Jason. Get some rest. I'm not leaving." He looked at me, and for just a second, something cold flickered in his eyes. Then it was gone, replaced by that careful mask of concern. "Suit yourself." We sat in silence. The machines beeped steadily. Aubrey's chest rose and fell. I counted each breath, willing her to wake up. At 9 o'clock, my phone buzzed. A text from Clara. "I'm here. Parking lot B." I stood up. "I need to step out for a bit, make some calls." Michael didn't look away from Aubrey. "Take your time." I walked out of the room, down the hallway, and out to the parking lot. Clara was leaning against her car, arms crossed, worry etched on her face. "What the hell is going on, Jason?" I pulled the envelope from my jacket and handed it to her. "Read this, all of it." She opened it, her eyes scanning the pages. Her face went white. "Oh my God. I need you to help me get Emma and Lucas. They're at Michael's house with his sister. I don't know if she's part of this, but I can't risk it." Clara looked up at me, her eyes wide. "You think he'd hurt those kids? I don't know what he's capable of anymore, but I'm not taking chances." She nodded, her jaw set. "What do you need me to do?" "I'll call Michael. Tell him I'm going to check on the kids. You follow me there. When I come out with them, we leave. We don't stop. We get them somewhere safe." "And then what?" "Then I call the police." Clara grabbed my arm. "Jason, if you're wrong about this..." "I'm not wrong." I pulled the envelope back from her, my voice breaking. "He's been killing her, Clara, slowly. And if I don't stop him, he'll finish the job." She stared at me for a long moment. Then she nodded. "Okay, let's go get those kids." I walked back into the hospital with my heart pounding so hard I thought everyone could hear it. Clara was waiting in her car, parked 3 rows behind mine. The plan was simple, too simple, but it was all I had. Michael was still sitting beside Aubrey's bed when I entered the room. He looked up, his expression unreadable. "I'm going to head to your place and check on the kids," I said, keeping my voice steady. "Make sure they're doing okay." Michael's eyes narrowed slightly. "They're fine. My sister texted me an hour ago." "I know, but I want to see them. They should hear from family that their mom's going to be okay." For a moment, he didn't respond. He just stared at me, and I felt like he could see right through me. See the envelope hidden in my jacket. See the plan forming in my mind. But then he nodded slowly. "Yeah, okay, that's probably a good idea." He stood up and pulled his keys from his pocket. "Here, in case Diane's not answering the door right away. She sleeps heavy." I took the keys, my hand steady, even though everything inside me was screaming. "Thanks. I'll be back in a couple hours. Tell the kids I love them." The words made my stomach turn. I nodded and walked out, forcing myself not to run. I made it to my car, started the engine, and pulled out of the parking lot. Clara followed at a distance, just like we planned. The drive to Michael's house took 25 minutes. It was a nice neighborhood, the kind with manicured lawns and 2-car garages. The kind of place where people waved at each other and no one expected anything dark to be happening behind closed doors. Michael's house was a 2-story colonial with white siding and black shutters. Aubrey had been so proud when they bought it 5 years ago. She'd sent me pictures of every room, excited about finally having space for the kids to grow up. Now all I could think about was getting them out of there. I parked in the driveway. Clara parked on the street, engine running. I walked up to the front door and used Michael's key. The lock clicked open and I stepped inside. The house was quiet, too quiet. I stood in the entryway, listening. No television, no voices, nothing. "Hello?" I called out. "Diane?" No answer. I moved through the living room, my pulse racing. The kitchen was empty, dishes in the sink, a half-empty coffee pot on the counter. I checked the downstairs bathroom, nothing. Then I heard it, a faint sound from upstairs, a child's voice. I took the stairs 2 at a time. The sound was coming from Emma's room at the end of the hall. I pushed the door open and my heart stopped. Emma and Lucas were sitting on the floor playing with building blocks. They looked up when I came in, their faces lighting up. "Grandpa!" Emma jumped up and ran to me. She was 8 years old, all skinny arms and wild curls like her mother. Lucas, 6 years old, followed behind her, quieter but smiling. I crouched down and hugged them both, relief flooding through me. They were okay. They were safe. "Where is your Aunt Diane?" I asked, trying to keep my voice calm. Emma shrugged. "She left." "She left? When?" "A while ago," Lucas said. "She got a phone call and then she said she had to go do something. She told us to stay in the room and not open the door for anyone." My blood ran cold. "Did she say when she'd be back?" "No." I stood up, my mind racing. Michael's sister had left 2 small children alone in the house. Why? Unless she wasn't really his sister. Unless this was part of the plan. "Listen to me," I said, crouching down again so I was eye level with them. "We need to leave right now. Your mom's in the hospital and she's going to be okay, but I need to take you somewhere safe." Emma's eyes widened. "Mommy's in the hospital. What happened?" "She got sick, but the doctors are helping her. I'll explain everything later. Right now, I need you both to grab your favorite toys and anything you really need. Can you do that for me?" They both nodded, their faces serious. They moved quickly, stuffing things into their backpacks. I walked to Aubrey's bedroom while they packed. I needed to grab some of her things, clothes, documents, anything she might need. I opened her dresser drawer and started pulling out clothes. Then I saw it. A small notebook tucked under a stack of sweaters. I picked it up and flipped it open. It was a journal. Aubrey's handwriting filled the pages. I scanned the entries, my throat tightening. "I feel sick all the time now. Michael says it's stress. Maybe he's right. I fell again today. I don't remember tripping over anything. Michael was worried. He wants me to see a specialist. The medicine Michael picked up for me makes me feel worse, but he says I need to take it. He says the doctor knows best." I closed the journal and shoved it into my jacket with the envelope. This was evidence, proof that Aubrey had been documenting her symptoms without realizing what was happening to her. "Grandpa, we're ready," Emma called from the hallway. I met them at the top of the stairs. They each had a backpack slung over their shoulders. Lucas was clutching a stuffed dinosaur. Emma had her mother's old jewelry box tucked under her arm. "Good job, let's go." We walked down the stairs and out the front door. I was halfway to my car when I heard another car pulling into the driveway. My heart lurched. I turned around. It was Michael. He climbed out of his car, his face calm, but his eyes sharp. He looked at me, at the kids, at the bags in their hands. "Jason," he said slowly. "What's going on?" My mind went blank. I hadn't expected him to leave the hospital. Why was he here? "I'm taking the kids to my place for a few days," I said, my voice steadier than I felt. I figured it'd be easier than them staying here alone. "Alone?" Michael walked closer, his gaze locked on mine. "Diane's here." "She's not. The kids said she left." Michael's jaw tightened. He pulled out his phone and made a call. I could hear it ringing. No answer. He tried again. Still nothing. "That's weird," he said, but his voice was too calm, too controlled. He looked at Emma and Lucas. "Hey guys, why don't you go back inside? Grandpa and I need to talk for a minute." "No," I said quickly. "They're coming with me." Michael's expression shifted. It was subtle, just a flicker, but I saw it, the mask slipping, the cold calculation underneath. "Jason, I think we need to have a conversation. Man to man." His voice was low now, dangerous. "The kids don't need to hear this." "There's nothing to talk about. Aubrey wanted me to take care of them while she's recovering. That's what I'm doing." "Aubrey's unconscious. She didn't tell you anything." "She told me plenty before this happened." Michael took a step closer. I instinctively moved in front of the kids, my hand going to my pocket where my phone was. Clara was still parked on the street, watching. If this went bad, she'd call the police. At least, that's what I hoped. "You don't know what you're doing," Michael said quietly. "You're going to regret this. The only thing I regret is not seeing you for what you are sooner." His face went blank. For a moment, neither of us moved. Then Emma's small voice broke the silence. "Grandpa, I'm scared." That snapped me out of it. I turned to the kids. "Get in Grandpa's car, right now." They didn't argue. They ran to my car and climbed into the back seat. I followed, keeping my eyes on Michael the whole time. He didn't try to stop me. He just stood there watching, his hands in his pockets. I got into the driver's seat and started the engine. Michael walked up to my window. I didn't roll it down. "This isn't over," he said, his voice barely audible through the glass. I reversed out of the driveway and drove away. In the rearview mirror, I could see him standing there, still as a statue, watching us disappear down the street. Clara followed me. We didn't stop until we were 3 towns over, parked outside a diner. I got out and walked to her car. "What happened?" she asked, her face pale. "He showed up. I don't know how he knew, but he was there." "Did he try to stop you?" "No, but he knows something's wrong. We need to move faster than I thought." Clara nodded. "Where are we going?" "Somewhere he can't find us. I'll figure it out. But first, I need to call a lawyer. And the police." I looked back at my car. Emma and Lucas were sitting in the back seat, their faces pressed against the window, watching me. They looked scared, confused, but they were safe, for now, and I was going to make sure it stayed that way. We ended up at a motel 40 miles outside the city. It wasn't much, just a small roadside place with peeling paint and a flickering neon sign. But it was far enough away that I could breathe. Clara took the kids inside and got them settled while I sat in my car, staring at my phone. I needed to call the police. I knew that. But once I did, everything would become real, official. There'd be investigations, questions, legal procedures, and Michael would know that I'd turned him in. He'd know about the envelope. My hands were shaking as I dialed 911. 911, what's your emergency? I need to report an attempted murder. The words came out steadier than I expected. My son-in-law has been poisoning my daughter. I have evidence. There was a pause. Sir, can you tell me your location? I gave them the name of the motel. Within 15 minutes, 2 police officers arrived. One was younger, maybe 30, with a buzz cut and skeptical eyes. The other was older, a woman with graying hair and a weathered face that had seen too much. I sat with them at a small table in Clara's motel room while Emma and Lucas watched cartoons on the bed, oblivious to the gravity of what was happening. Mr. Whitmore, the older officer said, pulling out a notepad. Start from the beginning. I told them everything. The phone call at 2 in the morning, the hospital, Dr. Patterson, the envelope, the prescriptions, the life insurance policy, Aubrey's journal entries. By the time I finished, both officers were silent. Do you have the documents with you? The woman asked. I pulled the envelope from my jacket and handed it to her. She opened it carefully, her eyes scanning the pages. The younger officer leaned over to look, his skepticism fading with each page he read. This is serious, the woman said finally. If these documents are legitimate, we're looking at attempted murder, possibly multiple counts. They're legitimate. Dr. Patterson risked his career to give those to me. We'll need to speak with him, and we'll need to get official copies of these medical records through proper channels. She looked at me, her expression softening slightly. Mr. Whitmore, You did the right thing coming to us. But I need you to understand something. This is going to be a long process. We'll need to investigate, gather evidence, build a case. It could take weeks, maybe months. My daughter doesn't have months. He tried to kill her once. What's stopping him from trying again? We'll place a protective detail at the hospital. No one will be able to get to her without going through us first. That should have made me feel better, but it didn't. I thought about Michael standing in that driveway, watching us leave, the coldness in his eyes. He wasn't going to just give up. The younger officer spoke up. What about the kids? Are they safe here? For now, Clara said from across the room. But if Michael figures out where we are... He won't, I said, though I wasn't sure I believed it. He doesn't know about this place. The older officer closed her notepad. We're going to bring Michael in for questioning. Based on what's in these documents, we should be able to get a warrant for his arrest. In the meantime, I'd suggest you stay somewhere he doesn't know about. Do you have family out of state? My sister lives in Tennessee, Clara said, about 2 hours from here. That might be a good option, at least until we know more. They left with the envelope, promising to keep me updated. I watched them drive away, feeling like I just set something in motion that I couldn't stop. Clara sat down beside me on the motel steps. You okay? No. I rubbed my face, exhaustion crashing over me. I keep thinking about Aubrey, about how long this has been going on. How did I not see it? You can't blame yourself, Jason. I should have known. I'm her father. I should have protected her. Clara put her hand on my shoulder. You're protecting her now. That's what matters. That night I barely slept. I kept checking my phone, waiting for updates from the police. Nothing came. Around 3 in the morning, I finally dozed off, only to be woken an hour later by my phone ringing. It was Detective Sarah Reeves, the older officer from earlier. Mr. Whitmore, I wanted to update you. We brought Michael in for questioning a few hours ago, and he lawyered up immediately, wouldn't say a word. But we were able to get a warrant to search his house and his car. We found more prescriptions, fake IDs he'd been using to fill them at different pharmacies. And we found something else. My heart sank. What? A second life insurance policy on your daughter? This one was for $3 million. He took it out 2 months ago. $5 million total. My daughter's life was worth $5 million to him? There's more, Detective Reeves continued. We ran his background. Turns out Michael's been married before. Twice, actually. What? His first wife died 6 years ago. House fire. Ruled accidental at the time. His second wife died 3 years ago. Carbon monoxide poisoning. Also ruled accidental. I felt sick. He killed them. We're reopening both cases. If we can prove a pattern, it'll strengthen the case against him. But Mr. Whitmore, I need you to understand that this is going to get messy. Michael's lawyer is already claiming that you're making false accusations because you don't like him. He's going to try to paint you as a vindictive father-in-law. I don't care what he says. I have the evidence. I know. And we're building a strong case, but it's going to take time. In the meantime, stay where you are. Don't contact Michael. Don't go back to the hospital. We'll handle this. She hung up. I sat there in the dark, staring at the wall. 2 other women, 2 other wives. How many people had Michael destroyed? In the morning, I called the hospital. They transferred me to Aubrey's room. A nurse answered. Is my daughter awake? I asked. She's in and out. Still very weak. But she's stable. Can I talk to her? Hold on. There was a rustling sound. Then a faint voice, barely above a whisper. Dad? Hearing her voice broke something in me. Aubrey, sweetheart, how are you feeling? Tired, everything hurts. She paused. Where are Emma and Lucas? Michael said you took them. They're safe. They're with me and Aunt Clara. Why? Her voice was confused, slow. The medications were still affecting her. Well, what's going on? I didn't know how to tell her. How do you tell your daughter that her husband tried to kill her? Aubrey, I need you to listen to me. You're not safe around Michael. What? Dad, what are you talking about? He's been hurting you, making you sick. The doctors found evidence. There was silence on the other end. Then, no, that's not true. Michael loves me. Honey, I know this is hard to hear, but you never liked him. You always thought he wasn't good enough for me." Her voice was getting stronger now, defensive. "You're trying to turn me against him. Aubrey, please, I have proof, medical records, prescriptions. He's been poisoning you." "Stop it!" She was crying now. "Just stop. I don't want to hear this." "Aubrey." The line went dead. She'd hung up on me. I sat there, the phone still pressed to my ear, my chest tight. She didn't believe me. After everything, she still thought I was the one lying. Clara found me like that 10 minutes later, staring at nothing. "Jason? What happened?" I told her about Michael, about what he did. My voice was flat, empty. "She doesn't believe me? She thinks I'm trying to break them up?" Clara sighed and sat down beside me. "She's in shock. She's been manipulated for years. It's going to take time for her to see the truth." "What if she never does? What if she goes back to him?" "She won't. Once the evidence comes out, once she sees everything, she'll understand." I wanted to believe that, but I'd seen the denial in Aubrey's voice, the desperation to hold on to the life she thought she had. Michael had been poisoning more than just her body. He'd been poisoning her mind too. 2 days later, Detective Reeves called again. "We've arrested Michael. Formal charges, attempted murder, fraud, and forgery. His bail's been set at $500,000. Will he make bail?" "I don't know, but even if he does, there's a restraining order in place. He can't go near Aubrey or the kids." That should have made me feel better, but I knew restraining orders were just pieces of paper. If Michael wanted to get to us, he'd find a way. That night, I lay awake in the motel room, listening to Emma and Lucas breathing softly in the bed next to mine. Clara was asleep on the other bed. Everything was quiet, but I couldn't shake the feeling that this was far from over. 3 weeks passed in a blur. We stayed with Clara in Tennessee, the kids adjusting as best they could to their new temporary life. Emma started asking questions I didn't know how to answer. Why couldn't they go home? When would they see their mom? Where was their dad? I told them half-truths. Your mom needs time to get better. Your dad has some things he needs to take care of. We're staying here to give everyone space. Lucas seemed to accept it, but Emma was 8. She was smart enough to know something was very wrong. Aubrey was released from the hospital after 2 weeks. She went to stay at a recovery facility, a place where she could get physical therapy and counseling. I wanted her to come to Tennessee with us, but she refused. She still wasn't speaking to me. Every time I called, she either didn't answer or the conversation lasted less than a minute. Detective Reeves kept me updated. Michael's lawyer was fighting hard, claiming the evidence was circumstantial, that Dr. Patterson had violated privacy laws by taking Aubrey's medical records. They were trying to get everything thrown out. "It won't work," Reeves assured me. "We have too much, the prescriptions, the forged signatures, the insurance policies, and we found something else." "What?" "Text messages between Michael and an old friend. They were discussing how much longer it would take, how he needed to be patient, how the payout would be worth it." My stomach turned. He'd been talking about my daughter like she was a business transaction. "There's more," Reeves continued. "We contacted the families of his previous wives. His first wife's sister never believed the house fire was an accident. She's willing to testify. The second wife's mother kept a journal of suspicious incidents before her daughter died. Falls, illnesses, strange accidents. It's the same pattern." "So you can prove he did this before?" "We're working on it. The prosecutor thinks we have enough for a trial. It's going to take time, but we're building a solid case." Time. Everything took time. Meanwhile, my daughter was alone in a facility, refusing to believe the truth. My grandchildren were living out of suitcases, confused and scared, and Michael was out on bail, probably plotting his next move. I drove to the recovery facility one afternoon without calling ahead. I needed to see Aubrey face to face. The staff tried to stop me at first, saying she'd requested no visitors, but I insisted. "I'm her father, please. 5 minutes." The nurse looked uncertain, then sighed. "Room 112, but if she asks you to leave, you have to go." I found her room at the end of a long hallway. The door was half open. I knocked softly. "Go away." Aubrey's voice came from inside. "It's me, honey." Silence. Then I said, "Go away." I pushed the door open anyway. Aubrey was sitting in a chair by the window, wearing a loose sweatshirt and sweatpants. She looked thinner than I remembered, her face pale and drawn. She didn't turn to look at me. "Aubrey, we need to talk." "There's nothing to talk about. You took my children. You had my husband arrested. You've destroyed my family." "Michael destroyed your family. I'm trying to save what's left of it." She finally turned to face me, and the anger in her eyes was like a physical blow. "You have no right to tell me what's best for me. You've never liked Michael. You never gave him a chance." "That's not true." "Yes, it is. From the moment I met him, you looked at him like he wasn't good enough, like I'd made a mistake." I wanted to argue, but she was right. I had been skeptical of Michael from the start. He'd been too smooth, too perfect. But I'd convinced myself I was just being an overprotective father. "Even if that's true," I said quietly, "it doesn't change what he did to you." "He didn't do anything." Her voice broke, and I could see tears welling in her eyes. "I was sick. I am sick. The doctor said it was stress, that I needed to take better care of myself." "The doctors didn't say that, Aubrey. Michael said that. He's been controlling your narrative for years." She shook her head, wrapping her arms around herself. "You're wrong. You have to be wrong. Because if you're not, that means everything I believed about my life was a lie." I pulled a chair over and sat down across from her. "I know this is hard. I know you don't want to believe it, but I need you to look at the evidence. Really, look at it. I don't want to see it." "Aubrey? No." She stood up, her legs shaky, but her voice strong. "I don't want to see your so-called evidence. I don't want to hear about prescriptions or insurance policies or whatever else you think proves something. I want my life back. I want my husband back. I want my children back. Your children are safe. That's what matters." They're scared and confused. Emma called me yesterday asking why she can't come home. What am I supposed to tell her? Tell her the truth. Aubrey laughed, but there was no humor in it. "The truth? You mean your version of the truth?" I pulled out my phone and opened a file Detective Reeves had sent me. It was a transcript of the text messages between Michael and his friend. I held it out to her. "Read this, please." She stared at the phone like it might bite her. Then, slowly, she took it. I watched her eyes move across the screen, reading the words. Her face went from angry to confused to horrified. "This can't be real," she whispered. "It is. The police verified it. Those are Michael's messages." Her hand started shaking. She dropped the phone on the table and stumbled backward. I stood up, reaching for her, but she pushed me away. "Get out. Aubrey, get out. I need to think. I can't do this with you here." I picked up my phone and walked to the door. Before I left, I turned back. "I love you, honey. Everything I've done is because I love you. When you're ready to talk, really talk, I'll be here." She didn't respond. She just stood there, staring out the window, her whole body trembling. I drove back to Tennessee with a heavy heart. Clara met me at the door. How did it go? She read the messages, but I don't know if it was enough. That night my phone rang at 11 o'clock. It was Aubrey. Her voice was small, broken. "Dad? I'm here. I need to see all of it. The medical records, the prescriptions, everything. Can you bring it to me?" "Of course. When?" "Tomorrow, as early as you can." The next morning I drove back to the facility with a folder containing copies of everything the police had given me. Aubrey was waiting in her room, looking like she hadn't slept. Her eyes were red and swollen. I handed her the folder. She opened it slowly, like she was afraid of what she'd find inside. For the next hour, she read through every document. I sat quietly, watching her face change as the truth sank in. When she finally looked up, tears were streaming down her face. "He tried to kill me," she whispered. "Yes." "For money." "Yes." She covered her face with her hands and sobbed. I moved to sit beside her, and this time she didn't push me away. She leaned into me, crying like she hadn't cried in years, maybe decades. "I'm so sorry," I said softly. "I'm so sorry this happened to you. I thought I was going crazy. I thought it was my fault. Every time I felt sick, every time I fell, he'd look at me with this concerned expression and tell me I needed to be more careful. And I believed him. She pulled back, wiping her eyes. How could I have been so stupid? You weren't stupid. He's a manipulator. He's done this before to other women. You couldn't have known. The kids, she said suddenly, her eyes widening. Emma and Lucas, did he ever? No. The police found no evidence that he hurt them. I think they were only valuable to him as leverage to control you. She closed her eyes, relief washing over her face. Then anger replaced it. I want to testify. When this goes to trial, I want to tell everyone what he did. Are you sure? It's going to be hard. I'm sure. Her voice was steady now, stronger than I'd heard it in weeks. He took everything from me. My health, my sense of safety, my trust. I'm not letting him take my voice too. 2 months later, the trial began. The courtroom was packed. Michael sat at the defense table in a suit, looking every bit the respectable husband wrongly accused. But I knew better now. We all did. The prosecutor laid out the case methodically. The prescriptions, the forged signatures, the life insurance policies, the text messages, the testimony from the families of his previous wives. Dr. Patterson took the stand and explained how he'd discovered the pattern. He was calm, professional, unshakable. Michael's lawyer tried to discredit him, claiming he'd violated patient privacy laws, but the judge shut it down. Then Aubrey testified. She walked to the stand slowly, still recovering physically, but when she spoke, her voice was clear and strong. She told the jury about the years of being sick, about trusting Michael to take care of her, about the pills he'd give her, the meals he'd prepare, the way he'd isolated her from friends and family. I thought he loved me, she said, looking directly at Michael, but he was killing me, slowly, and I almost let him succeed. Michael's face remained blank, but I saw his jaw tighten. The trial lasted 3 weeks. The jury deliberated for 2 days. When they came back, the verdict was unanimous, guilty on all counts. Michael was sentenced to 25 years in prison without the possibility of parole. As they led him away, he looked at me one last time. There was no remorse in his eyes, just cold, empty calculation. He'd lost, and he knew it. 6 months after the trial ended, I stood in the kitchen of Aubrey's new apartment, watching her cook dinner for the first time in what felt like forever. It was a small place, nothing like the house she'd shared with Michael, but it was hers, safe, clean, free. Emma was setting the table, chattering about her new school and the friend she'd made in art class. Lucas was on the floor with his dinosaurs, making sound effects that echoed off the walls. Normal sounds, happy sounds. Aubrey turned from the stove and caught me watching. She smiled, and it reached her eyes. Real, genuine. You okay, Dad? Yeah, I said, my throat tight. Just thinking about how far we've come. She wiped her hands on a towel and came over to hug me. We wouldn't have come anywhere if it weren't for you. You saved my life. You saved your own life. I just gave you the chance to fight back. She pulled away, her eyes serious. No, you did more than that. You believed me when I couldn't believe myself. You protected my children when I was too weak to do it. You never gave up, even when I pushed you away. I thought back to that morning in the hospital, to Dr. Patterson handing me that envelope, how scared I'd been, how close we'd come to losing everything. I almost didn't do it, I admitted. When Dr. Patterson first gave me those documents, I sat in that bathroom stall thinking about how easy it would be to just ignore it, to convince myself I was overreacting, to let things go back to normal. But you didn't. No, because somewhere deep down, I knew. I'd been ignoring the signs for too long, the way you pulled away from the family, how tired you always looked. The accidents that didn't quite make sense. I'd told myself Michael was taking care of you. But the truth is, I'd just been too scared to look closer. Aubrey squeezed my hand. We both missed things, but we're not missing them anymore. The timer on the oven beeped, and she went back to pull out a casserole. The smell filled the apartment, warm and comforting. Emma finished with the table and came over to grab plates. Is this like Thanksgiving? She asked, looking between us. Kind of, Aubrey said. We're celebrating being together. Can we do this every week? Aubrey glanced at me, and I saw the hope in her eyes mixed with uncertainty. She was still rebuilding, still learning to trust herself again, but she was trying. "Yes, sweetheart," I said to Emma. "We can do this every week." We sat down to eat, and for the first time in years, I felt something I'd almost forgotten. Peace, not the absence of problems, because there were still plenty of those. Aubrey was in therapy twice a week, working through the trauma. The kids had nightmares sometimes. Money was tight since Aubrey was only working part-time while she recovered, but we were together, we were safe, and that was everything. After dinner, while Aubrey got the kids ready for bed, I stepped out onto the small balcony. The city stretched out below, lights twinkling, in the darkness. My phone buzzed, a text from Clara. "How's dinner going?" "Good, really good." "Tell Aubrey I'm proud of her. And tell yourself the same thing. You're a good father, Jason." I stared at those words for a long time. For months I'd been carrying guilt. Guilt for not seeing what Michael was doing sooner. Guilt for the years Aubrey suffered. Guilt for not being the father I thought I should have been. But maybe Clara was right. Maybe being a good father wasn't about being perfect. It was about showing up, about fighting when it mattered, about not giving up even when everything seemed impossible. Aubrey came out onto the balcony, 2 cups of coffee in her hands. She handed me one and leaned against the railing beside me. "They're out like lights," she said. "Emma wants you to read to her tomorrow night." "I'd love that." We stood in comfortable silence for a while. Then Aubrey spoke, her voice quiet. "I got a letter from Michael." My whole body tensed. "When?" "Last week. His lawyer forwarded it. I haven't opened it." "Are you going to?" She shook her head. "No. I thought about it for a while, wondering if maybe he'd apologize, if maybe there'd be some explanation that would make it all make sense. But then I realized I don't need that. I don't need his apology or his explanation. I don't need anything from him." "What are you going to do with it?" "Burn it." She looked at me, her expression determined. "Tomorrow. I want the kids to see. I want them to understand that some things in life deserve to be destroyed, that moving forward sometimes means letting go completely." The next evening, we gathered in Aubrey's small backyard. She'd bought a metal fire pit from the hardware store, and Lucas helped her set it up while Emma arranged stones around it like it was some kind of ceremony. Aubrey held the letter, still sealed, in her hands. She looked at me, then at the kids. "You know how sometimes we keep things that hurt us because we think we're supposed to," she said to them. "We think that letting go means giving up or being mean. But sometimes the strongest thing we can do is say goodbye to things that were never good for us in the first place." Emma nodded seriously. Lucas watched with wide eyes. Aubrey struck a match and held it to the corner of the envelope. The paper caught fire, flames licking up the sides. She dropped it into the fire pit, and we all watched as it burned. The letter from the man who'd tried to kill her. The last connection to a life that had almost destroyed her. Gone. As the flames died down, Emma reached for her mother's hand. "Are we safe now, Mommy?" Aubrey knelt down and pulled both kids into her arms. "Yes, baby, we're safe." That night, after I'd driven home to my own apartment 30 minutes away, I sat at my kitchen table with a cup of tea and thought about everything that had happened. The fear, the anger, the uncertainty, but also the strength I'd seen in my daughter, the resilience in my grandchildren, the way we'd all found a way to survive something that should have broken us. My phone rang. It was Detective Reeves. "Mr. Whitmore, I wanted to give you an update. We've reopened both cold cases on Michael's previous wives. Based on the evidence from your daughter's case, we're confident we can build strong cases there too. Will there be more trials? Possibly. The families deserve justice, and Michael needs to answer for everything he's done." After she hung up, I thought about those other women, the ones who didn't survive, the families who'd spent years wondering what really happened. They'd finally have answers. It wouldn't bring their loved ones back, but maybe it would give them some peace. 3 months later, Aubrey called me in the middle of the day. "Dad, I got a job offer." "That's great. Doing what?" working with a nonprofit that helps domestic violence survivors. They want me to speak at events, help with outreach, train counselors on recognizing signs of poisoning and medical abuse. I heard the excitement in her voice, but also the nervousness. How do you feel about it? Terrified, but also like it's what I'm supposed to do, like maybe everything I went through happened for a reason, so I could help other people. I'm proud of you, honey. I start next month. And Dad, they want to pay me $45,000 a year. It's not a lot, but it's enough. I won't need to rely on anyone else. I can take care of my kids on my own. That number meant more than just money. It meant independence, security, a future built on her own terms. A year after Michael's sentencing, we all gathered at my place for Thanksgiving. Aubrey looked healthy, her cheeks full of color, her eyes bright. She'd gained back the weight she'd lost, and then some. Emma and Lucas ran around the yard playing with Clara's grandkids who'd driven down for the holiday. As I carved the turkey, I looked around the table at everyone gathered. My sister Clara, who'd dropped everything to help when we needed her most. Aubrey, who'd found strength I didn't know she had. Emma and Lucas, who were learning that family meant people who protected you, not hurt you. Can I say something? Aubrey stood up, her glass of sparkling cider raised. Everyone went quiet. A year ago, I was in the hospital, not sure if I'd survive, not sure if anything in my life had been real. But I did survive. We all did. And I want to thank every single person at this table for refusing to give up on me, even when I'd given up on myself. She looked at me, tears in her eyes. Especially you, Dad. You saw the truth when I couldn't. You fought for me when I didn't have the strength to fight. You saved my life, and I will spend the rest of my life making sure you know how grateful I am. I couldn't speak. I just nodded, my own eyes burning with tears. So here's to second chances, Aubrey continued, her voice stronger now, to finding light in the darkest places, to building something beautiful from the ashes, and to family, the real kind, that shows up when it matters. We all raised our glasses. As I looked around that table, I realized something. We'd been through hell. We'd lost things we'd never get back, time and innocence and peace of mind. But we'd gained something too. We'd gained truth. We'd gained strength. We'd gained each other, really truly gained each other, in a way we never had before. That night, after everyone had gone home, I sat on my porch with a blanket wrapped around my shoulders. The November air was cold, but I didn't want to go inside yet. I thought about that envelope Dr. Patterson had handed me in the hospital, how heavy it had felt in my hands, how much it had changed everything. If he hadn't given it to me, Aubrey would probably be dead by now. Michael would have tried again. Succeeded eventually, and I would have spent the rest of my life wondering if I could have done something to save her. But I had saved her. We'd saved each other. My phone buzzed with a text from Aubrey, just a photo. Her and the kids on her couch, all three of them smiling, Emma making a silly face, Lucas holding up his dinosaur. Below it, 3 words. Thank you, Dad. I looked at that photo for a long time. Then I typed back, I love you, always. The past would always be there. The scars wouldn't disappear, but we were building something new, something real, something worth fighting for. And for the first time in a very long time, I wasn't afraid of what tomorrow might bring. We were finally, truly free.